Oh, that cracked my neck.
Oof. You okay?
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. This video and videos like it are made possible by the support of NordVPN. NordVPN is the tool that allows you to freely and securely access any content on the internet from anywhere in the world. Click the link below to get started today and receive 60% off a 2-year plan with 1 month free. So, Tourette's is one of those things that's talked about a lot online, but not talked about in an intelligent way a lot. And it's nice that I'm here to talk with you because maybe I can get an idea of what it's actually about.
Definitely. A lot of people on the internet claim to have it. And, I don't want to not believe them, but at the same time, as a person that's been diagnosed, it's hard to have trust in that because I've met 4 or 5 people in my life who's faked my disorder and they know I have that disorder. A lot of people will think it's cool or quirky to have something that makes you move uncontrollably, but it's not. It's a neurological disorder that takes over your entire life. Really, anything you do is going to be messed up, or any relationship you have, or people thinking that you're faking it. So the amount of people that I see fake it on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, things like that on social media gets me upset but not angry. Because most of the time they're kids. And I don't want to be the person to say, oh yeah, they're kids, so let me yell at them. I don't want to do that. If anything, I just want to teach them, hey, if you really think you have this, please get a diagnosis. I want people to be honest about if people actually have something or they don't, because people before have mocked my tics. Even a teacher I had before mocked my tics and told me straight up to my face I didn't have Tourette's. So it affects everything that is in my life as far as I know, because people will be people. I mean, I'm not gonna say that people are terrible. People have emotions, have opinions, but most of the time that won't really matter to me because in the end I know what I know and they know what they know.
How does it affect everyday life? From when you wake up, what's the first thing that changes compared to my life?
For me, when I wake up, I don't tic a lot, but as more the day goes, I start to tick more and more, especially towards night. I don't know the reason why. There's good tick days, there's bad tick days. It all just depends, really, on what you want to call it. Like a good tick day is I don't tick as much, or things like that. And a bad tick day is I'm ticking all the time. I'm not getting one single break. And sometimes bad tick days can lead to tick attacks. And some people also mistaken that as other things as well, which is really something. I remember once someone had claimed to have a word for a tick attack. They would say that they had a trigger word and that would cause a tick attack, which has never been a thing or case in Tourette's. As I talk now, because I'm kind of focusing, when you focus a lot with Tourette's, you kind of tick less, I guess. So the more I try and focus, the more I will not tick. But sometime during this recording, I might tick or I might not. And if I don't tick at all, people are going to be like, oh, they're faking it. Because people assume that you're ticking all the time. But, I'll have good tick days. Like I said before, bad tick days, good tick days. But for other people, they see it as you're ticking all the time. If you're not ticking near me or a lot near me, then you're faking. And that's another subject I want to get on. People assume that every case of Tourette's has to do with swearing and rude gestures, things like that. And that's actually called copopraxia and coprolalia. And a lot of people think that that's the, I guess, quote unquote fun part of it, when there's not really a fun part of it. I don't want to scream the F word in public because I do have the swearing ones, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, I wish I had Tourette's. And I'm like, no. You don't, because the amount of times I've had tick attacks, the amount of times I've been judged, looked at weird, like if I'm an alien, I don't think you would want that. And the time I've spent knowing that I've had this, about 2-3 years maybe, before I had no idea what was going on. If anything, I was scared to tell anyone. And that's another thing. People can somewhat suppress their tics, which can also make people believe that they don't have it because they're suppressing it, but it's really hard to suppress them. And sometimes you can't suppress them at all, especially if you've been suppressing them for an hour, 2 hours, however long your limit is. It's really hard to keep that up because it's stressful, especially if you know that someone's going to come up to you and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you moving like that? And if I told them I have Tourette's, they'd be like, I don't see you ticking at all. And that happens sometimes, I guess, because sometimes I'm talking and then they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have Tourette's when I do a single tick, and they're like, I haven't seen you tick this entire time. It's very frustrating. but it's something I have to live with and get used to because people are going to be people, you know? So there isn't really much I can do about it, at least I don't think, because right now there is no cure for Tourette's, and I don't think there will be for a while. But as you get older, Tourette's could either die down or get worse. And I'm really hoping it dies down for me because I do not want to live with this. The amount of people I've heard say, oh, I want to get Tourette's so I can say the N word. I've heard that escape people's mouth before. I've
Oh my
heard people
God.
say that. And they'd be like white, Mexican, Arabian, I don't know, just some other race. And they said I could make an excuse for being able to say the N word or being able to say slurs. And I'm like, I have tics like that. I do not want to say that type of stuff, especially when I know it could get me beat up too. I once had a friend group who also used to trigger my N-word tic a lot, and I didn't know that was a bad thing until after I left that group. And then after that, I don't tell people I have Tourette's as much. I just let them figure it out on themselves, because if they figure it out, people are going to try and trigger, and there are people like that in this game. The people I've met so far, most of them trigger them because they think it's funny. But I kind of got used to it, where people trigger some tics, and I'm just letting it happen because I don't know how to say, I don't like that, because they're gonna be like, but it's cool, it's nice, and I'm like, no, it's not. It hurts sometimes. Sometimes you could have a neck tic that jerks to the right or to the left, and your neck can crack and it hurts. Sometimes you could legit fall and your legs would give out as a tick, and there's things like that. It changes the way you really are and how you can really affect your own movements, because it's hard not being able to control your own body, feeling like someone's using you like a puppet, I guess.
That's so invasive that anybody would do that.
Definitely, yeah.
Is there anything that makes it easier, that decreases the odds of it happening?
Some people take medication for it. I don't, because I want to make people learn about it more, but at the same time, I also want it to die down in some sort of way. So I'm hoping that with age, it does that. But I've heard from the medication, it makes you tired. It basically makes you feel disgusting. I don't know. So I don't want to take that chance to feel like that just to stop my tics, because I've lived with it and I have to live with it, because there's no cure, there's nothing I can really do. And if I have a tic attack, there's nothing I can do to calm it down. It's just kind of, you have to sit there and take it, either if it's you hitting yourself or you screaming or you saying curse words, slurs. It doesn't matter. What tics do not care. Simple. They will do anything and say anything that is a word, even if it's like the simple word bread. I had a bread tic once, and it happened for a while. But there's things like that. It could just be a random word, it can be a slur, it can be just anything, really. And some people, the severity of Tourette's does also affect lives as well. I have a cousin who is not diagnosed with Tourette's, but he has tics, and he just has facial tics, some arm tics, and that's really it. But for me, I have full body tics. Because of that, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to drive. For example, if I'm driving one day and everything feels fine, but out of nowhere a tic could just spin the wheel this way and I get into a car crash, what do I do? It might make it worse, it might make it better, I don't know. I also want to be a pathologist when I grow up, but that's people who examine with autopsies. But again, with Tourette's, it might not be the job for me, because I might stab someone with a knife or something, and I don't want to risk that. Best way to describe tics for me is think of a sneeze. You can kind of have that feeling when you know that it's going to happen, and sometimes you don't. And then when it happens, you just feel relieved after. And if you don't sneeze, that feeling just stays in you. It's like a ball in my chest when I hold back a tic. It's like if I swallowed a tennis ball. It's very uncomfortable and sometimes can hurt. It varies to each person, but that's mine. And another way to describe it is a cough. If you hold in coughs for too long, especially if you're sick, right? If you're sick and you're coughing a lot, but you want to try and stop, you have to hold in that cough for a long time until you keep holding in other coughs until your body finally gives and you start coughing everywhere. You just start coughing a lot. That's another way to describe suppressing tics, because it's just that bad to hold it in, to the point that I have to just accept that I have to just let them out, because if I don't, then it might just get worse, and I'd rather that not happen.
Yeah. Are the people in your family and friend group supportive of you?
I'm glad they are. They really are. My mom, she was a little skeptical at first. I remember I told her hey mom, can I get a diagnosis for Tourette's? She's like, oh honey, people with Tourette's swear. I'm like, oh, that isn't really right, but okay. After a while, I was like, can we please get diagnosed? Like, can I please get diagnosed? And she was like, okay, well, just see if it's Tourette's. And after that, shortly after, I was diagnosed. And I'm like, I was right. And my friends, they're pretty supportive of me, and I'm really glad they are. They really do understand me well, especially if sometimes I hit them as a tick. Sometimes I hit people as ticks, either in the shoulder, the back, or really anywhere. So it doesn't just affect me, it affects everyone else in my life. I really want to raise awareness for it, definitely. There is laughs with Tourette's sometimes, but sometimes it's just terrible. And I get it, sometimes I could say something funny, but other times it's off the chain.
Yeah.
Oh, that cracked my neck.
Oof. You okay?
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, well, I think that's our cue to call it. It's been so nice talking with you. This was absolutely lovely. I learned something, and I'm sure a lot of people will too.
I'm glad I was able to talk about it.
Yeah.
Tell me a story, I wanna hear it. You might think it's boring, but I'm interested.